Hi everybody and welcome to another chess tips video. If you give me about 10 minutes of your time, I'll teach you or help you strengthen a chess concept, and today we're talking about the initiative. Before we jump into that, it's been a while since I've made a chess tips video, and that's because I've been doing commentary on the Legends of Chess alongside Hikaru Nakamura. If you missed that, we're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern over on Twitch. And also, I moved. In case you can't tell, so some of the lighting is a little bit off, so bear with me. I will get everything figured out and I'll be uploading instructive content more frequently. Now, the initiative, what does that mean? An initiative in chess is a sequence of moves where you put pressure and threats on your opponent's pieces, squares, their king, and at the end of it, you have a sizable advantage using that set of attacks. So, starting out with 5 examples today, almost all of them from the Legends of Chess. This game, Vishy Anand with black, Peter Svidler with white, and this was the position. Here, Vishy played the move e5. Now this move, obviously supported by the pawn, takes space in the center, attacks the queen. Svidler replied with queen e3. Now we see knight to f5, improving the position of the knight and attacking the queen in the center of the board. I should just point out here, like a move like d4 also does attack the queen, but it's slightly different than knight to f5 because the queen can simply go to d3 and blockade everything. You can't push this pawn forward because of the sufficient defense, and so for that reason, the initiative, we're trying to improve our position, knight f5 played. Now, in the game, Svidler played queen b3. Right here, you can try to pause, find the way for black to completely take over using threats, one move threats, dominating white's position. I'll wait about 5 seconds so you can catch your breath. I will also spoil that in the game, Vishy played e4, which blocks out the light-squared bishop and tries to go for a positional advantage. What he should have done is hopped in with knight d4, and you say, well, Levy, what does that do? Knight d4 just attacks the queen, and even though it is attacking this pawn as well, the queen can go to d1. Well, I said keep creating threats. So how can we create a threat on this rook? There's knight e6, but there's also bishop f8. And we see the power of this knight. It's taking away this square, and this rook has nowhere to go. It goes here, it attacks the bishop. Okay, just move the bishop. And bishop d6 is coming. This rook is trapped. And this would have been a completely winning position for Vishy. And, well, you can check out the result later in the game. Obviously, more twists and turns happen. But that is a perfect example of how you use threats on an enemy piece to then secure an overwhelming advantage. Like every move made was an improvement of the position. And certain things like d4, right, on the second move, they open up lines, but they don't quite give us enough. Okay, bishop a6, but the queen just runs to safety. We can pick up a pawn, but we can do even better than that. This position is very dominant, so let's jump into this game. Played between, and let me not spoil things, I will go back to the starting position. This was a game played between Peter Leko and Peter Svidlo. Svidlo. Wow, Leko and Svidlo. Svidler, also from the Legends of Chess. This was the position for the white pieces. Now watch what Peter Leko does here. If you want to pause, take a look for yourself. Peter Leko plays the move d5 in this position. What is this move all about? How does that create an initiative? The move d5 is like a door. It opens the d4 square for white's bishop, white's knight, and white's ability to take over the c6 square. An initiative doesn't always need to be attacking a piece. I told you in the intro, it can also attack a square. So you say, I would love to end up with a knight on c6. So rook c8, knight d4, and knight e5. That stops knight c6. But this knight had another thing in mind. Now Peter Leko says, all right, I'm going to keep changing my plan and keep targeting things with my knight. Now there is some vision on this side of the board. h5 here was played by Svidler, and Leko immediately moves his bishop here. So again, it's all because of this move d5, chopping away at the knight, that pawn, and g6, attacking the knight. If you'd like to find the next move in this position to put the pressure on black, it is an exceptionally difficult move, but I urge you to pause, take a look. There are 2, but one is much more beautiful than the other. All right, I will tell you the answer now. If you said f4, you are also correct. That is the move played in the game, but the absolutely stunning move, queen c1, because you need to get your most powerful attacking piece into the game. You say, Levy, well, what about g takes f5? Yeah, but I mean, you're at least winning the knight back right away, right? And I mean, if I block like this, you play queen f6, and you're probably going to mate me. So queen c1 is an amazing move. Another move here, f4. Just every piece is getting a turn, improving the position. This could be a separate game in how to just attack the enemy king, but none of this would have been possible if the move d5 wasn't found. And if you're thinking things like e5, you do have also an interesting idea, because if takes takes, there is this and this. But don't forget, it's not checkers. I don't have to take you, and I can just put my knight in the center, and you're never going to get rid of it. It's just going to stand there. You play something like queen to e4, okay, then I'll take your bishop. So initiatives for the more advanced viewers also can do with empty squares to then open the door for some of our pieces to transfer into the enemy territory, transfer toward the king, and so on. Okay, so that's another example. Before we talk about more empty squares, let's talk about more physical threats. This one is a little bit more... probably the most advanced example of the day, but I figured I'd slot it in third. So if you're watching, go ahead and pause. This was a game by Ivanchuk versus Ding Liren. And here Ivanchuk, taking a look at the position, wanted to create a discovered attack on the queen. Now sometimes initiatives start with a slow move, like d5. Well, how do we allow this bishop to move so that this rook is well protected? We've got to bring the rook up a square so that we set up bishop e3. And he's doing that because of the pressure on the d-file, the pressure on c6, the pressure on the knight, and not to mention that he does have a passed pawn here. So in this position, Ding Liren played the move c5, the idea being that he wanted Ivanchuk to take and then play queen c6. Now, watch as this initiative builds up. First threat on black's position, bishop e3. Knight blocks. And so now an initiative is supposed to improve our position and create a threat every move. So obviously all of you are looking at this move, but don't forget then the queen is going to take this pawn. This knight has guarded from this threat. So he plays b5. And you might say, well, Levy, that's just a defensive move. That's not an initiative. No, look closer. There is a threat here for white. That threat is bishop takes c5. Because, for example, the knight cannot take because the queen is hanging, and if the queen takes, this is guarded by that. So we just take that. And the rook defends and attacks at the same time. If you take me, I take your queen. If you take my queen, I take it with the rook. So there is a threat. It's just very difficult to see. But it's bishop takes c5. And while Ding Liren played queen b6 to get out of the pin, and now, find the focal point of black's defensive setup. What is black's one piece holding everything together? And get rid of it. f3. I know. Those of you that watch Ben Feingold, I know. You're not supposed to play this move, but that's why you can't always listen to general rules. f3. And in the game, this just shreds apart the defenses. In the game, queen takes b5 happened, takes, and it looks like this is sufficiently defended. Oh, but there's something else very sinister in mind. If queen takes f6 was possible with check, it would be mate. But it's not possible with check, because the pawn is on g7. Well, you have all the puzzle pieces and the instructions. Now put it together. Bishop h6. Stunning move. Threatening this. Can't take because of mate. Bishop comes back. Now bishop takes d3. And Ivanchuk won a piece, and he went on to win the game. So, it's not always a move that begins the initiative with such a thunderous attack like we saw in the very first example. But I will dial it back with this next one, okay? This next one. Kramnik versus Anand, which happened today. A crazy match between two world champions. And in this position, Vishy had just played the move a6. Okay, let's make a threat. Knight d6. And you say, well, that doesn't make any sense. I'm just winning a pawn. Yeah, and so now everybody's looking at this and this. But hidden in all this is this diagonal. So how can we attack those rooks? Ah, bishop f4. But there's a pawn in the way. So what do? d4. Incredible move. A move like that. A move like this you find when you start adding layers to your tactical abilities, right? You know that if that pawn wasn't there, that's an easy x-ray for 99% of you, okay? For that 1%, keep on grinding, you'll get there. But knight takes d4. Bishop takes, again, e takes very difficult, and rook takes results in check and a fork of these two rooks, these poor rooks. So e d4, now we get queen f4 with the x-ray, queen c7, and now a very nice move here from Kramnik, c5. And he's able to play this move because if queen takes c5, white simply has rook c1. And if queen takes a3 defending this, queen g5, rook c7. Again, initiative. Every move is going to have a threat. Every single move. So he plays c5, rook c6, and now how can white create another threat here using the move that he just played? Using this move, clearing the square, check. Forcing the king to f8. This next move I'm not going to make you find. It is the engine's top choice. It's also Vladimir Kramnik's choice, and it is a beauty. Do not trade the queens. You can go queen g6, excuse me, queen h6, but then there is queen g7, and you don't want a queen trade. Rook e5. And black resigned. Because there's nothing. If you play the bishop out, this is mate in 1. And the threat here is bishop d5. So look, bishop d5, the knight can't take. And if the rook takes on c5, that rook used to guard that knight. And this is simply made in a couple of moves. Bishop d5, a killer, because of queen f6 and queen h6 threats. You say, okay, well, Levy, what if I just play like king g7? That's great, but then I have rook g5 and I'm going to mate you in a few moves. If you play king h8, a beautiful combination. You want rook g8, check, here, mate in 2. And so after rook e5, a move that causes absolute paralysis for the black position, Anand resigned. But a 7 move, aggressive sequence. d4, fantastic move, shredding open the center, and queen f4, and domination on this light square diagonal looking for the threats. Now this last one, I wanted to include, it's not an example from these Super GMs, it's an example from one of my own games. I was playing Subscriber one morning over on Twitch where I stream a lot, and I was playing an 1800, and in this position he had castled. So I blitzed out a move here that looked natural, queen a5, but an initiative that I could have built up already started out with the move c4, which closes the position. He has to play queen back, and then I start my queenside operation. That is how you create an initiative. c4 closes the door, and then you start attacking the knight and the pawn. In the game, I played queen a5 first, which the difference being that I do allow him to take, not to mention I do allow him to go here. Now, I take on d4 in the game, because this knight has no discovered attack that's useful, because I defend, and I'm also threatening this. So he took on d4, and here I actually made a mistake in the game. I played knight b4, which looked really natural, and I won a pawn like this, and okay, I went on to win the game, but here my development is very bad, and even though I used my initiative to win a pawn, his position's actually fine. I mean, it doesn't look like it should be great, but f4, and, you know, he can create some counterplay. What I should have done, instead of playing knight b4 to create an initiative that just wins a pawn, is I should have won the very obvious pawn in the center. Okay? I should have just won the pawn in the center. And then if he plays something like this, I just put the knight on c4, and I have some pressure. But for the final example, I will flip this, and I will say, is knight takes e6 creating a winning initiative for white? You can sit here, take a look. I'll let you think. The answer to the question is a resounding no, because if knight e6 takes, black just blocks. And 2 things apply here. Number 1, if you've seen my other chess tips video, the rule of +2, you need 2 more attacking pieces than there are defenders. And white doesn't have that. White just doesn't have that. He does not have... Well, there's no knight takes d5 because the queen is protecting. And yes, you can play moves like rook e1, but black is by all means going to attack you first. So this is not a lasting initiative. There is just simply nothing here. An initiative is also supposed to improve our position at the end of this position. We are simply not doing that well. We are getting mated. It's all smoke and mirrors. White does not have a substantial attack. Okay? Hope you enjoyed these 5 examples. I'm very happy to be making these chess tips initiative videos and so on and so forth. Let me know what other concepts you'd like me to cover in the comments below. Any thoughts on the videos? And listen, I really love reading the comments. I try to interact with you guys as much as possible. The support the past few weeks has been unbelievable. And if you've made it this far, just keep being awesome, okay? I'm gonna keep making this content. Let's try to hit 50,000 subscribers soon. So much love, and I'll see you in the next one.